So it's like, how do you? So it's like, how do you sit there and pledge your allegiance to this party and aren't willing to change, or at least like think outside the box, when they're just showing that they're not going to do nothing for you because you keep saying the same stuff. You're not going to change your vote.
Man, these people ain't pledging no allegiance on election day. They're not even gonna want to stand in line. They used to stand in line for George. They're not gonna stand in line to vote. If you think that the majority of these people that's saying that they support Kamala Harris is even gonna show up at the polls, it's bullshit.
There's a major issue that I just thought about too, like with the migrants and stuff like that. If we have an increased population of migrants that are coming here illegally, they can't be documented, they can commit crimes and murders. But then you also have, the police. You want to defund the police. How does that work? Like, if you have less police officers out there that's doing their job, it's gonna be some blues for real, because you're gonna have
y'all don't want them either. Let you police yourselves. Y'all want community resource officers, right? Don't y'all want social workers to show?
No.
I thought that's what wasn't that the movement?
That's part of where we want the money to be allocated. But so is it normal that people that may have a liberal viewpoint or democratic viewpoint that come up here, do they come up here and say that they want open borders? They don't come up here, or people don't talk about, like, Democrats support closing the border and making a pathway to citizenship. I don't understand why that's not a collective across the board, or maybe I'm not understanding. Is that not
what do you mean?
What the other side, meaning like we want sensible pathways to citizenship? Like
I didn't see that
want people just say that again.
I see people were mad when Trump said that we needed to close off the borders and we needed to build more border walls.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying in 2016 through 20.
That's
we all
so you help me with the narrative of why people say Trump stopped a big border policy or a law
that stopped it. So this is what happened. So they have been letting in all of these migrants, and it had been between 10 and 15 million migrants, illegal migrants, that had crossed over into the country during the Biden administration. This past year, 2023, going into 2024.
This was 2018. I'm asking about the 2018 one.
What happened? Okay, so what's the question then?
It was the bipartisan bill that they had for stronger border control.
Only bipartisan bill that was passed was during this administration.
No, it wasn't passed. This was a bill in 2018 that was brought by Congress
because he wanted to actually get more funding for the borders and national security. They denied him.
Okay.
They actually denied him, and also on top of that, part of Biden's campaign promise was that he wasn't going to build another inch of border wall, and that you can actually look that up. Like, that's what he stood on.
Yeah, I do remember when he said that, because the money, I think, was being
they
wasted.
didn't want to give him any money. That's when Trump was saying that I'm gonna have to figure out how to get Mexico to pay for it, that we gonna fund it ourselves. That's when all of those other alternatives was coming, because he was asking Congress for the money to actually continue to help at the border, and they said no, because the Congress was largely being controlled and pushed back on by Democrats. Mm-hmm. And so when Biden got in office, the way that they then started to pass the bipartisan support as far as the deal was that they paired it. And so when people say, well, why did Trump kill the border deal, this one that recently passed? It's not that he killed it. What the Republicans was saying is that we don't want this to be a part of the legislation as far as also funding Ukraine and the proxy wars. And they paired it together. And so the Republicans were saying these are two separate issues. If you want to sit here and talk about conversations about how it is that we giving money to Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, all of this stuff, then that's a separate issue as far as coming to a bipartisan agreement or a deal as far as funding and closing off the borders. But the Democrats basically held the gun to their head and said, listen, we're not giving no money for borders unless y'all, want to talk about and add this as a part of the deal as far as funding these proxy wars. And that's what was killing the deal, because they looked at it as two separate issues, but they wanted to pair it together.
Yeah, Texas was hurting really bad and asking for the funds. Like, a lot of the soldiers at the border that for National Guard wasn't getting paid. They had a lot of
no, you wrong about that. Texas got sued by the federal government for protecting their borders.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying.
They wasn't
like
asking
that
funding. They was asking them to stop getting in the way because the National Guard was removing the razor wire that they were using to prevent illegal migrants from coming over into the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean,
Trust
yeah,
me,
I think that was
every single day. Every day I covered it.
Yeah, no, that was true also. But I'm just saying is like I feel like once they cut that deal, far as like helping with the border, that's when the governor just started shipping people up north to these sanctuary cities when he realized he wasn't going to get help and he was just footing the bill by himself.
What happened. So the border was being flooded. Texas didn't know what to do in order to stop it because it was an influx of migrants that was coming over. It was literally coming over in caravans. It was the news that was following them, and it was literally thousands, tens of thousands of them coming over in caravans, different caravans at the same time. And so what they did was the first thing that they did was they sent a bus. Both Florida and Texas sent the bus to Martha's Vineyard, and they sent them to Kamala Harris's crib. Because they said that since you are the person that's in charge of the borders and you don't want to do nothing about it, then maybe you should share in the pain. Then instead of them protecting the borders, they said, well, listen, we're going to allocate monies over to sharing the pain of all of these other places. That's when Chicago, New York, and all of them said, well, listen, we don't care. We cool with it. We're a melting pot. We're going to designate ourselves as sanctuary cities. And so Texas was like, listen, if y'all want to partner with us on getting the federal government to stop what's going on as far as these migrants coming over here, because that's their job, y'all need to partner with us. The Democrats doubled down and said, no, we sanctuary cities. And now this is what y'all getting as far as all of these migrants getting this food and this money and all of these resources that's supposed to be going into y'all communities. That's the timeline of how it played out.
So you support your tax dollars going to build a wall?
I support my tax dollars going to protect our border and whatever that looks like. I want more walls built. I want more technology used. I want more border security. I want more hiring of those. Listen, they hired 80,000 IRS agents and they actually divested against the border. That's bullshit.
So I do think
they hired tens of thousands of IRS agents to chase us down. And they spent money on that. They actually funded that. They actually petitioned for money for that. But then they defunded the border. That's crazy. So yes, I absolutely 100%. I agree with immigration into this country, but I believe in legal migration into this country. And it's actually a slap in the face for the people that's actually doing it the right way and going through the process.
Yeah. There was a lot of Republicans, though, that were against the thought process of how Trump wanted to fund it and, cause some hiccups in Congress with trying to have a bipartisan bill, though. So that's what I don't understand.
You're going to have debates within all of the legislative branches on what's supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. But to absolutely just kill it and say, no, we're just going to open up the borders altogether and kill the conversation altogether, that's crazy.
Right. I don't think that was the objective to it. I just feel they couldn't agree. I do agree that, the Democrats that I talk to, the people I'm around, we don't sit here and say, yeah, we just want them to flood in. We believe in immigration and we want to have a pathway to being legalized. So I think that's something people can agree across party lines on. It's the way that the delivery is or how the information is presented on, who wants to be at the finish line and say, hey, we solved the problem. But at the end of the day, I think we all kind of support that we want our borders to be closed and have a legal.
That's not what's happening, Misha, because they're not holding accountable this administration for leaving this border open for the last 3.5 years.
Is there not?
They're not. Listen, y'all can agree with a lot of the things.
Open under him too, though. Like
no.
He tried.
It was left open. Literally, I'm not just talking about this administration. I'm talking about Democrats at large. Listen, it's things that we can. I don't agree with everything that Republicans do. Let me say it like that. Right? I don't agree on every single thing that Republicans stand for. Absolutely not. But the majority of it, I do agree. But I don't agree on everything. Mm-hmm. And I call out the bullshit that I don't like about it. I think that Bush II was the worst president in my lifetime. I'm not just going to support him just because he was Republican. That motherfucker was a monster. He was evil. He was he was a devil. And I don't believe in 9/11 at all. I don't believe in a lot of shit. And I don't talk about that part because I know that they be censoring you on YouTube and stuff, but I don't believe in a lot of stuff. And I've been vocal about the fact that I fucking hate the second Bush. Think that he's the worst president in my lifetime. And so I'm objective enough. I'm not so loyal to a party to where I can't hold the legislative branches or the people that are making the decisions accountable for the shit that's bad for our country. But Democrats don't do that. They so dedicated to the core that they don't even call out the bullshit that they know is wrong.
There are some, and then there are people that leave the party. We're deprecating the party. I think Black people need to leave the Democratic Party. And just be independent. We need to be able to debate on issues and vote on issues, whether it's based on your state issues that you're voting on, however the federal government is going to trickle down in the next 78 days based on whatever administration gets in there. But I think we can meet each other halfway on some of these things. It's the delivery and understanding that the problem is. I may not deliver it in a way that is something you want to consume or vice versa. You know what I mean? But I do think that there are a lot more opportunities for us as individuals to come together on some of these issues and not necessarily, be naive.
I believe you got to fix the main ones first. Before you can start having a conversation about all of the other details, you got to
I'm saying it, you talking about Congress. I'm
talking about cutting off these goddamn borders.
Yes, I agree. They do. I'm not denying that, but I'm also saying at the same time that when we do it, we also need to have in place ways that people can come into the community in a legal way.
There's already a pathway to come into the United States legally and properly. The issue is that they're choosing to not do that and come here illegally. And then there's other caveats to that. There's, again, with the whole undocumentation of them, there's pregnant women coming over here. Their children are going to be born and considered American because they're born here. Or what about the ones of them that come here and then they have children here? So then their children are considered American. So it's a big web of confusion that's happening now, because it's like, there is a way for them to come here legally, but then they do stuff like that, and now they're legally considered citizens because of that, and they get protections because now their child is the American citizen that's protecting them. Mm-hmm. So
right. I mean, there are ones that come over in that scenario, but we also need to reform and have a better pathway to citizenship. I mean,
but it's
not realistic. Like, they got to take a test, know all of the presidents, they got to know all the states. I don't think any of us, I'm gonna speak, can sit here and name all the states, the capitals, every single president. I mean, it's got to be a harder test than that, or knowledge, or more knowledge to come into the United States. Like, I don't agree with that process. I think it needs to be reformed.
Okay, so you're speaking on the stipulations on how legal immigrants come into the country.
Right. Reform, but we also need to close the border in however way we need to do that so that they don't come over illegally. So that's what I'm saying. I would be a person that understands one view and supports both narratives.
Right, but the narrative that you're saying about reform and trying to fix things, every country has their own standards on how they allow people to come into their country. Some countries in Europe require you to purchase real estate to get citizenship in their countries. Are you going to say that's wrong because everybody don't have money for real estate? No, it's like if you want citizenship in Italy, you're going to have to buy a plot of land because they want you to show value in their country. I wanted citizenship in Canada. You have to show that you have a certain amount of money in your bank account before they even give you a visa to come to the country, because you have to have a certain amount of money in your bank account so that they can make sure that even if you don't have a job, you can take care of yourself. So our stipulations, in my opinion, are lax when it comes to legality standpoints, because again, we're asking you to memorize some information. You're going to have to pay legal fees just like everybody else is going to have to pay legal fees. So the stipulations aren't really where I feel like the issue is what we're talking about, the illegal immigration, the fact that we have those things available and they are choosing to, by whatever means that is. Again, I've talked to some people that are illegal immigrants and they will say, why am I any different from you? Why don't I deserve a good life? And it's like, it has nothing to do with you as a person. It is all about the fact that there is a way to come into this country. And if you want to do that, you have to, because again, it's a slap in the face to the people back home in your country who have to go through what they're going through, but they don't have the means to get here. But because you had the means to get here illegally, you should be able to stay. I don't think that's fair. I think everybody, if you want to go to a country, whatever that looks like for you, you meet the stipulations of that country, and that should be just what it is. We're not requiring them to learn English. It's like, it's not like, I feel like we're not asking them for too much. It's just,
actually they do. If they go to school, they have to have that as part of their curriculum. But again, I'm not negating what you're saying about illegal immigrants, so I get that. And what you just stated is each country, like you said, you've done your research, they all have their different processes and requirements to get into the country. I feel that there can always be reform. That's not me helping. That's me saying we need to look at the immigration policy that we have on how individuals can get here. Do we need to make them stricter? Do they need to own land? That's where I'm coming from, is sometimes it's okay to look at what we have and get an ad hoc group and say, is this working out? Is this plan working out? No. Do we need to be stricter? What do we need to do? So I'm saying, I hear you and I respect you, but what's the solution? I'm not saying help anybody. I'm saying this is a policy of them coming in here or the
close the borders for now until we get people processed, because we already know that places like Venezuela, their crime is going down because they're releasing people out of their prisons and they're coming here. We got to close the border, stop letting people in. But we have an administration that does not want that. No matter what the cost is,
they don't want that. They don't want that though. They do want to be able to close the border. And
Kamala Harris is saying, we'll welcome you with open arms. They're paying them to be here with your money.
They literally said they have amnesty packages that they're giving.
Yes, they want them here. They want them here.
So much so that she denied it.
Vouchers, rent vouchers, food vouchers, clothing vouchers,
$20,000
that they can go so that they can go to a trade school and make something of themselves so that they can get here. I know illegal immigrants, and they pay taxes. They pay taxes under their business and LLCs that they have. That's why so many of them are entrepreneurs. You know what I'm saying? Lash tech girls, the construction men, like they own businesses and they do things separate so that they can say, I make a contribution to this country. And then when it's time for them to go through the legal process, they can say, hey, I've been here this long. I've been contributing to your country. I've been paying taxes. There you go.